Well, let's get into it. We are starting our a new sermon series on Hineni. Hineni is this Hebrew word. You can see it written there, and the word is it's a powerful word that we never hear. It doesn't come across in English. When Abraham was called, when Moses was called, when Isaiah was called, when Samuel was called. Samuel is the prophet that anointed Saul and David. When they were called, when God called them, depending on who they were, they all said the same thing eventually. They said this word Hineni. And it means, here I am. Actually, the better real translation is, here, send me. That's what it is. It's not a, here, present and accounted for. It's not a, yeah, I guess you can use me. It's a, I am in, I am all in, put me in, coach, I'm ready to play. It is an active noun. I know I said it right. It is an active noun, right, of a person who is ready to go. Somebody who is ready to make a step, and what it is it says, I recognize the undiluted presence of God. It's not a, hey, I think I have something I want to do, and maybe God's going to come with me. It's God is calling me into His presence to do for Him what He wants. And in there is the rub, because if you are in relationship with God, you are going to be transformed. In fact, it doesn't even have to be God. Whatever relationships you're in, whatever you do is going to transform you. It's going to change you. You will change. And maybe you say, I don't want to change. Well, tough, you don't get a choice. Life will change you. Stuff happens in your life, and you go about learning, right? You figure out, right? You're going to change. I think we all changed from Christmas just a little bit, right? But then we also change in a kind of mental sense or a social sense or a spiritual sense. I know when I was a new daddy, brand new, like the first time I had held a baby in 20 years, it was mine, right? I didn't know a thing about babies. And then my wife tells me to change a diaper. I don't know a thing about changing diapers. Now, if you have boys and you've changed boys' diapers, you know that there is a technique. There is a NASCAR moment, right, where you have to change that diaper as quick as possible. Otherwise, Old Faithful becomes your friend. Or maybe not your friend, but at least it shows up. I learned this technique of changing my son's diaper in such a way that Old Faithful never got a chance to explode. You don't want this explosion. I have to be, beat around the bush here because we're trying to be church. But the reality is, as a dad, or maybe, you didn't learn the easy way. Maybe your wife didn't tell you. As a dad, I had to learn the hard way what it looks like to change a boy's diaper. Now I'm pretty good at it. I got a couple boys. I got a couple diapers under my belt. And the same happens in your life. Whether you're at work, you have a new program, new procedures, you're going to learn. And the thing that you engage with is going to change you. Because the reality of life is whatever you engage with will change you. It's not a matter of whether you want to have it. It's going to happen. If you have a loved one who is going through a medical procedure, right? What do we all do? We all hop online and we become experts on whatever that happens to be. And we know the ins and we know the outs because we want to make sure that things go right. And so we want to pay attention. And our loved ones are the things that are driving us to that. Well, Hineni is this engagement that says, I'm going to engage with God on that level, on His level. I'm going to answer His call. And when we come to that place where we're willing to answer His call, it's a powerful moment. For starters, whenever anybody encounters God, the first thing they say is, I'm going to die. That's what Isaiah says, woe is me, I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips. I'm going to die. That's what happens when we encounter God, is we recognize that God is God, instead of whatever it is we want God to be. Because what happens is sometimes I think we think of God as this other being, right? God is not just some other being. He is anotherness. We can't quite understand Him. And so when we get in contact with Him, we recognize He is not anything that we have any control of, which is the second thing. God doesn't want to just be happy with fitting into our lives. We think of God maybe as like a grandparent in the sky. Or if we happen to call them every once in a while or show up on the holidays, and that's great. God's happy with that. God is not happy with us fitting him into our lives. Convenience is not the measure by which God measures our relationship with him. In fact, convenience is a bad measure of relationships. If you think about the things in your life that are the most convenient, they're the things that you think the least of. Until they're gone, of course. As soon as you don't have them, right? Your dishwasher, your laundromat, your dryer. If your dryer broke, if my dryer broke, I don't know what I would do right now. I'd have to start tying things on my wall. I don't even know. I have no idea, right? And why? Because it's such a convenience that unless it breaks, I don't think about it. So if our faith with God is based on how convenient that relationship is, then immediately it's already in the wrong position. Because convenience is really about the things you don't think about, not the things that you care and think about. I don't know, maybe your washing machine does this. When my washing machine, when it's over, it sings a little song. Do any of yours do that? And you know what happens when that song gets sung? Probably nothing. In fact, it's happened enough that, and I don't know, maybe you don't do this, but I was a college kid once. You do your laundry and you leave it in the laundry machine until it gets funky. You know what I'm talking about? And then you've just wasted a whole load of laundry and you have to wash it again because it was so long it got funky. Because why? Because a laundry machine might call me to tell me that it's done, but I don't answer that call. It doesn't order my life. The laundry machine doesn't tell me what to do. It tells me that it's done, and then, I think about it and my clothes get funky. Is your faith funky? Is your faith in a place where you've decided to put it in the corner and maybe it's calling you, but, whatever. I'll get to it when it's convenient. The purpose of God's calling is actually to inconvenience us. It is to put us into a place where God is in our life such that it gets in the way of the other things in our life. That's what engagement looks like. Because if God is in your life in such a way that it gets in the way of the other things of your life, then what are you doing? You're thinking about God. You're thinking about how to put God in his place, right? How to serve him and the other things in your life. If you're wrestling with how to serve God and the other things in your life, I'm going to tell you that's a good place. That's a place worth wrestling for. That's a place where God is taking up so much space, you can't ignore him anymore. He's enforcing his will on you. You're engaging with him such that your life is ordered around his will and not your will. And the reason we do that is because he's worth it. This is Matthew chapter 2, verse 1. I'm sure you've heard this. It bears repeating. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him, and calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born, and they told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea. For so it has been written by the prophets, and you, Bethlehem, and the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time and where the star had appeared. And then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you come, and when you find him, bring word so that I may go and pay him homage." So, when they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen in its rising until it stopped over the place where the child was, and they saw the star had stopped. They were overwhelmed with joy, and they entered into the house, and they saw the child and Mary, his mother. And they knelt down, they paid him homage, and then opening the treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back, they left on another road. I don't know if you know what a sextant is. It's a tool used by sailors back in the old days when they didn't have compasses or GPS, and they would figure out where they were by the position of the stars. Because as you move across the earth, those stars move. And so you can tell where you are because the stars are stationary and not moving. Or at least they're moving in relationship where you are. So if you move and the stars are only going up a little bit, eventually as you move further and further across the face of the earth, the star will change its position. And eventually, this is what the wise men did. They traveled so far that the star went from wherever it was in the horizon above them, and they recognized, aha, this is the place. This is where this new star was created. That means that whatever made this star, whatever heavenly being made this happen is here, and that's how they found Jesus. So I want you to think, when we humans were moving across the face of the sea, that's how the stars move. How far do you have to walk before the stars start rising? You have to follow that star for a really long time. That is an inconvenience. That is an inconvenience on a level that we probably never even think about, right? Where you might have to leave for months on end, going to who knows where to encounter who knows what, so that you might find you don't even know. These wise men, that's what they did. They entered into their caravans of camels or whatever it was. They entered into a relationship with God that they might be called into His presence. They entered into whatever trials were going to be ahead of them. They entered into whatever conveniences were going to be ahead of them. They entered into whatever needed to be sacrificed because God was worthy. I can't imagine that those wise men, when they came back, didn't have their lives changed. That they came back and they were the exact same person as they were when they left. When they encountered God, they had to have been changed. And God knows it. And we know it, and psychology knows it, and anybody who tell you how to do anything will tell you that God knows and He does it right. When we engage with Him, for His sake, we're changed. We're changed to Him, to be like Him, by Him. So as we start a new year and you're looking into your resolutions and what it is that the new year is going to bring and what it's going to look like, let me just add this to your list. What if you looked at God not as a convenience or a way to fit things into your life, but you looked at God as the way, bless you, and everything else as fitting it? What if you decided that what you were going to do this year was going to not just try to be better, or whatever that means? What if this year you tried to connect with people, the one sitting literally right next to you? What if you said, I'm going to put on my shoulders the ministries of the church. I'm going to do the things that I don't want to do. I'm going to go outside of my comfort zone so that I might be the being that God has called me to be and encounter Him in a new way. What if you answered God's call? What if you stepped up and deepened that relationship?